So this is a Danish movie, originally titled Shorta, which apparently is a Arabic word for police. And this one is very much in the vein of something like Training Day. And The Watch is another movie that comes to mind, as well as that recent one that I can't for the life of me remember the name of. But anyway, they all share similarities. They all follow a pair of cops throughout the day as they go out on patrol and take care of business. But they all usually also approach the same kind of story from different perspectives. And in this one, the premise is that there's been an immigrant who's been put in the hospital by the police recently. There are allegations of police brutality, so there's unrest brewing in the community. But during this time, the cops are still expected to patrol the streets. And things go from there in a very much expected manner, I would say. And as I said, we follow this one particular pair of cops for the duration of the day. We stick with them exclusively, and the movie doesn't feel any need to jump to any other characters. In fact, the only other characters are the ones that these two come in contact with, which I thought worked fairly well. I didn't really feel any need for any other characters or storylines either. However, this one does find a way to very naturally introduce a couple of minor characters that do get their own stories as well. It's not all about those two cops, although those stories do very much relate to and intertwine with the main storyline involving the cops. Which I mean is just good writing and understanding of how to tell a story that feels cohesive, where all the parts interact with each other. And overall, I like the story. I like the two main characters too. Well, I didn't necessarily like them for reasons that become very obvious when you watch the movie, but I thought they were well written and the actors did a great job here too. Although I will say, I'm not really sure what the main message here was supposed to be. The takeaway? Because there are some seriously morally dubious things that go on in this one. And you know, this is a movie clearly inspired by what's been going on in the US lately, with Black Lives Matter and all the race-related unrest involving riots and police brutality. But I don't really see Hollywood tackling this topic too much, so I guess leave it to the Danish to do it. Now, with that being said, as I insinuated, I'm not sure if this one is necessarily, well, the most politically correct way to take on this subject, or if it really brings any solutions or answers here. In fact, I don't think it does any of that, but at least it found an entertaining way to do something with this topic. Because that's what this movie is. It's entertaining, and it gets very intense at times too. Surprisingly intense even. I wasn't really expecting something this action-packed and solid coming out of Denmark. But this does really feel like a Hollywood production in some ways. And not in a bad way either, I just mean it feels like high-quality action-packed entertainment. Now, some of the direction and editing when it came to certain scenes I wasn't the biggest fan of, but for the most part I did find it to be effective and well put together, with a very minimal but effective story and a plot that is about as basic as it gets. With that being said, I do think it suffered a little bit from some pacing issues. It took a few too many breaks from the action to slow things down, in my opinion. And I would have liked if it just kept the pedal to the metal all the way through, which I think would have resulted in about a 90-minute movie that was even more entertaining. Other than that though, I don't really have any complaints. It was just a solid, entertaining movie, which means I'm inclined to give this one a high 6. Boop. But would I recommend it? Yeah, sure, if you want to see some police action that gets more than a little bit hairy at times, go for it. And if you don't, maybe skip it, or do whatever you want. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic.